So to start off, we're going to make a magic ring. Take your tail end, wrap it around 2 fingers, and create an X at the back here. We're going to grab our hook, insert it, and grab our left side, the top left yarn, pull it through, and going for that top left yarn again, you might want to use your other finger as well. Hook it through and pull through that loop, the hole right here, like that. And then once you release your fingers out, you'll have your magic ring created. And there are so many ways to do the magic ring. This is just how I do it. And once you've done that, you want to make sure you're working with not the tail end. You want to chain 2. So to do that, put your yarn over and pull through this loop here. And again, yarn over and pull through to create a chain 2. And so we have our ring and chain 2. We're going to start our first round. We're pretty much going to be doing 10 double crochets into the magic ring. So to do a double crochet, yarn over and insert your hook into this circle. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and you'll have 3 loops on your hook like this. Then yarn over again and only pull through 2 loops, like so. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over again and pull through the last 2 here. So it can be a bit hard to see with black yarn, but that is how you do a double crochet. And now we're going to do 9 more into the ring here. And I'm just going to put a stitch marker into that first stitch. You don't need to do this for your project, but I'm just doing this to be able to show you where the first double crochet is. That way we won't get confused, because we're not counting that chain 1 as a double crochet. If that makes sense. So not counting this, we're going to have a total of 10 double crochets into the magic ring. So that's 1. Now we yarn over again, insert our hook into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the other 2. And that is our second double crochet. Keep going. Same thing. And you'll notice that there are these V's forming, and that is how we count each of our stitches, and that is where we'll be inserting into the next round as well. So now 4, 5, 6, and this is our last double crochet. And you can see the V's here. This is how we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And at the top of this video somewhere here, there will be the total number of stitch counts in brackets. At the end of each round, that's how many stitches there should be in the round. I definitely recommend counting, just so you can make sure you're on track. So now that we've finished our 10 double crochets and we have our chain 2 as well, we're going to, if you can see, there's 2 loops or 2 pieces of yarn, the tail end here and just this one that connects the 2 sides together. I'm just going to pull on this one to tighten it first. Doesn't need to be too tight, and then pull on the tail end. It might be a bit tough, and this is going to close up our magic circle like so. So now that we've tightened the magic circle, we're going to do a slip stitch to connect the round. I'm just going to take out the stitch marker, but you can see the 2 loops, the V, that's where we're going to go into. So inserting our hook into that V right there that we marked. underneath the 2 loops, yarn over and pull through, and just directly pull through again. That's how you do a slip stitch. And we want to chain 2. So I'm going to use blue to mark that slip stitch that we just did. Basically we'll be doing slip stitch chain 2 at the end of every round, and this does not count towards the total number of stitches or the total number of double crochets. It's kind of like those little connectors on glow sticks. They are kind of there really just to add height to the next round and connect each round together, but it doesn't count towards the main total number. So for this round we're going to be doing increases into all 10 stitches to basically make our circle bigger. So to do a double crochet increase, I'm going to yarn over, and into that same gap that you can see that we slip stitch into, that one is our first number 1 stitch. So we're still going to work into it. See the hole? Just put your hook through and we'll do a double crochet. Because we're increasing into every stitch, it just means you're putting 2 double crochets into the same gap. So into that same one, putting another double crochet in, and that means you've done an increase. I'm going to again mark my first stitch for you guys, just to make it easier to see. So that's my first stitch there, that was the second stitch. So we're increasing into every stitch here. So into the next one, do 1 double crochet in our second double crochet to create an increase. And keep going. And yeah, we'll do that all the way around, and I'll see you when I finish this round. And this is my 10th increase. Remember, we're not going into this blue stitch, slip stitch here. If you're not super familiar with crochet, it is a lot easier to utilize these stitch markers. So now that we've finished our increase round, we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch here. And chain 2 again to add the height. And I'll just move up this blue marker to there. So now for this round, we're going to be doing a double crochet increase pattern. So in the first stitch, we're going to double crochet, and in the following stitch, we'll be doing an increase. Double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase, all the way around. So we're basically, each round we're increasing 10 times. We're just spreading it out a little bit more as we go, as the circle gets bigger and bigger. So double crochet into this same first stitch here. And I'll just mark that one. And now increasing into the next stitch. And you'll be doing this 10 times all the way around. So again, double crochet and an increase into the next one. And in case you drop your project or forget where you were up to, if you just pull the gaps a little bit, you can see that in this stitch there's only 1 coming out, 1 double crochet coming out, which means it's just our regular double crochet. And in the following you can see 2 sticks, I guess, of double crochets coming out, which means this is the increase. So that's just a way to remember where you're up to and make sure that you're continuing the pattern correctly. And that was my last increase. Now once again, slip stitch, chain 2, and I'll just move up the other stitch marker like so. So for our next round, the pattern will be double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase. So 2 double crochets before we increase again. Once again, just expanding the circle more outwards. So I'll double crochet into the first stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch, and then we'll do an increase into the next stitch. And we're repeating this pattern 10 times all the way around. And that's the last increase of that round. Same thing again. Slip stitch and chain 2 and moving the markers. And once again for our next round, just adding 1 more double crochet in between before we increase. So now we're doing 3 double crochets before we increase. So double crochet into the first one, then double crochet into the following stitch, and another one into the following stitch. That's 1, 2, 3 before we increase. So 3 double crochets and then an increase, and repeating that pattern all the way around once again. And now that I've finished this round, I'm going to once again connect, chain 2, and now I'm just going to measure. It's almost basically 6 inches, and I think I'm going to stop there for the size of my head, but if yours is bigger, you can just keep going with the same pattern. The next one would be 4 double crochets and then an increase, and just keep going until you reach your head measurement. Now that we've finished the increases and this is the size of our head in a way, we're going to stop increasing, making the fur hat bigger, and just double crochet to have length. Pretty much, I think I stopped increasing around here, and then now it's just going straight down. So doing a double crochet into every stitch. First one, and just connecting in the same way. And if you can kind of tell, it's now, instead of going outwards, it's now starting to go down a little bit like a hat. For me, I'm going to do 5 more rounds of double crochets, so having 6 double crochet rounds in total. It really is up to you how long you want your hat to be, and you can keep trying it on if you're not 100% sure before starting the fur outline. So now that I've finished this last round, I'm not going to slip stitch yet because we're going to be doing an invisible stitch to connect the final round together. Once you're happy with the length of your hat, I'm just going to get some scissors, leaving some room at the yarn. I'm going to pull through the yarn, grab my crochet hook, insert it in, and I'll just take out these 2 stitch markers. So you want to figure out which side you actually like better. Because we've been crocheting in rounds, one side will be kind of no lines and the other side will have these sort of lines to each row. I personally like this one and I want this on the outside. So whichever one you want to make sure it's on the inside because we're going to be weaving into this part here. So taking this crochet needle, we're going to go into that first stitch, going away from you, and then where you see that initial stitch, we're just going to go into the loop closest to you to connect. And so it'll look like a crochet stitch right there. It's so that it kind of just connects seamlessly. You can't really tell that that's where you finished. And after that, we're going to weave in the rest of this yarn just wherever you feel like you can weave it in. Me personally, I'll usually go down the stitch, down the double crochet stitch, and then go a couple times sideways through a few, and kind of do a U-turn. I'll go sideways, down, and back that way, just so it's going in different directions. It makes it harder to unravel. And there we go. And I just take my scissors, leaving a tiny bit of gap. You don't always want to cut directly close to where it ends, especially for a beanie, because once you pull, you can see the tail end kind of goes in a bit. And do the same for this one. And now we can add in our fur yarn. We're going to add it in. Simply find a stitch, insert your hook, pull through, and we want to chain 2. And whatever total number of stitches you had, I had 50 stitches. I'm going to divide it by 10. So every 5th stitch, I'm going to do an increase. So similar to the part up here, we're going to be adding 10 increases into the brim of the hat. That way it points outwards and not straight down. So this was our chain. So similar to before, our chain doesn't count. We're going to do that double crochet. We're going to do 4 double crochets if you have the same number of stitches as me. 3, 4, and then add 2 double crochets into here to make an increase. So working with fur yarn is pretty much the same as the regular yarn. It's just a lot harder to see where the stitches are. For this first round, it's a little bit easier because we're working straight into the acrylic. But for the next rounds, it'll be a bit more difficult. So that's 4 and an increase. So now that I've finished my first round, at this point working with fur really is about just feeling. You can slightly see the stitches at the top, but it really is a little bit hard. So just where you think would be a slip stitch, where the first stitch would be, I mean, just slip stitch into there. The pro about the fur is that you really can't tell if you have put it, or if you have skipped a stitch or put it in the wrong place, because it kind of just covers up anyway. We're going to be doing increases again for the next 2 rounds. So because we've added 10, my stitch count is no longer 50, but it's now 60. So now every 6 stitch I will increase. Okay, so first double crochet just into that. First one, 2, 3. I kind of see where it comes out and just feel for the next stitch. 4, 5, and then increase on the 6th stitch. Once you finish the second round, just same thing. 2 slip stitch and chain 2. And I'm going to do one more round. Now that we've increased again, it'll be every 7th stitch that I will increase. You can keep going or stop whenever you like, whenever you're happy with the thickness of the fur. And now that you finish that last one, you can slip stitch, cut the yarn, pull all the way through there, and just weave in these last 2 ends. Once you finish all your ends, this is pretty much your finished fur hat. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.